Yes, greetings and welcome to Sunshine Communication Presents Express Yourself. And today we're going to discuss the legacy of El Haj Malik Shabazz, also known as Malcolm X. To get started, I'd like to introduce um, our, I consider him an associate now, uh, this brother CD Mukhtar Kar. He's an educator, world traveler, um, and a constant contributor to our program. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum salam, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I also want to bring up on board A. Peter Bailey. He worked with House Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X, especially after he converted to Orthodox Islam. And we want to bring him on for a discussion of what it was like to work with Brother Malcolm. Brother Clarence, is Mr. Bailey available? You got to mute your mic now. You got to mute your mic. Too much background. Brother Bailey, can you hear me? First of all, I really want to thank you for taking the time. I know you're very busy with commemorations of Malcolm X. I really, really appreciate it. We're here in Houston, and we're going to put this on YouTube. As I just mentioned, I have CD Mukhtar Kar. I'm sorry. He's an educator. He's a world traveler and a constant contributor to our program. And brother, without further ado, would you just tell us what it was like to work with Malcolm X in the last days?
Oh, yeah.
Very good. Now, what was the last organization? The name of the organization Malcolm was
Can't hear anything.
right. Exactly. Now, was that 64? That was when he came back from Mecca, correct? Right. So, what were some of the goals and objectives of their organization?
To the civil rights leaders and a few other people. But one, they went
Yeah,
to
not yet.
one of the civil rights leaders, and it said that if capitalistic Kennedy and communistic Khrushchev can get together and talk with each other when they have common interests, then it is a disgrace that we cannot get together when we have a common cause and a common plans against a common enemy.
Now, see that's very noteworthy, brother, because people had I was at a discussion yesterday, and some people thought there was alleged there was a rift between Dr. King and Brother Malcolm, and you just just told us that was not true at all.
And it might have been when he first, back in the days when he was when the Nation of Islam was first founded.
Okay.
But when the Organization of African American Union was founded in 1964, Brother Malcolm had come to. That was why it was founded. He founded two organizations. Muslim Mosque Incorporated were for those people who were with him as Muslims and nothing else.
Okay.
The Organization of African American Unity was for everybody Black who was interested in knowing that we needed to have a unity cause in order for us to better protect ourselves, in this society.
Exactly. Now, brother, what was your position, particularly with the organization?
Okay, well, when we started, we first of all we talked for a while, and discussing things, and then he asked us to start listing which committee you want to be on: economics, culture, politics, communications, psychology, those kind of things. And I didn't really quite know where I wanted to go, because at that time, I was working as an editorial reference at Time Inc. But I found it that when I told him that, he said, well, you need to work with a newsletter. Because he said his position was that when you have an organization or movement, you must have your own instrument of communication. Because even, let's say, if you got 50 newspapers that support you and one who opposes you, your opponents are going to always go after the one that opposes. They're going to quote the one that opposes rather than the 50 who support you. Okay. So you got to have your own publication in order to get information out that you want to get out. Okay. And that's how we started the OAAU newsletter. All right. I became editor of the newsletter.
That's fantastic. Now, what were some of the goals? I mean, I know you said about working for our people's African people's liberation, but what kind of specific projects did Brother Malcolm have in mind?
He believed very strongly that we should get together as a group of people to promote and protect our interests in this society. That was the national goal, to protect our interests in this society. And when I say interests, again, I'm talking about economics, culture, communications, politics, psychology. And Brother Malcolm, one of the things, that attracted me to Brother Malcolm initially when I first heard him was I had never heard anyone talk about psychological attacks the way he did. And so that was a very, very much part of it. And so that's what he did. He was talking about developing ways that we can protect our people and our interests in this society. And then he went for Pan-Africanism, because that was the ways of that he felt is one of the most effective ways to protect ourselves in this society, was to have a strong relationship with people of African descent around the world, especially those on the continent.
That's fantastic.
That would provide protection. That would provide some protection for us.
So, were there what particular countries did he stay? Any particular countries I mean, I know he was in Ghana. I know he was in Algeria. And any other countries he had in mind?
But brother, let me tell you. In my book called Brother Malcolm's Strategic Pan-Africanism, I include the names of 7 African leaders that he not only knew, but when he went to Africa in 1964, he had meetings ranging from 1.5 hours to 3 hours with each one of these brothers. And brothers, I'm not talking about no joint meeting. He met with them individually. He met with President Ezekwe Numani of Nigeria, President Jomo Kenyatta of Kenya, President Gamal Abdel Nasser of Egypt, President Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, President Julius Nyerere of Tanzania, President Nelson Obote of Uganda, and President Sekou Toure of Guinea. Now, brother, when I say that, I'm telling you, he met with these brothers individually when he went to Africa. Sat down in meetings with them.
That's fantastic.
And with the idea of there were 2 things he was talking about. One of course, of us having this connection with each other. And also, Brother Malcolm had a definite goal of taking the United States government before the United Nations Commission on Human Rights for being unwilling or unwilling to protect the lives and property of black people in this country. Because, you know, that was a period of time in the 60s when black people were being killed and brutalized and attacked and everything, you know. And the government was always claiming that very little. It was up to the states. They were basically claiming there was nothing they could do. So he was developing this international contact so that he could be able, because in order to take your case to the United Nations Commission on Human Rights, you had to be invited by one of the members of the UN. You couldn't go on your own.
Okay.
A UN member had to invite you, and then you would go before the UN Commission on United Nations Commission on Human Rights, and that's what he was working on.
Brother, that would have been a major diplomatic embarrassment to the United States, allegedly, I say, being the seat of democracy, and the people born in this country had not rights and not even being recognized. And not was the civil rights, the human rights were being murdered in the streets and lynched and murdered and killed by the police.
Yes,
it's been a
that's why that is why we call ourselves a human rights organization, not a civil rights organization. Because civil rights is local.
True, that's right.
Human rights is international.
That's right.
And that's why it was the United Nations Committee on Human Rights, United Nations Commission on Human Rights, and that's why he used that term. And you can imagine, of course, when he and I remember we had a surprise birthday party for Brother Malcolm, and we sent the word, you know, to some of the African leaders that he met, and several of them came to that. You know, and I'm sure that with all of that, when they were watching the United States government, the State Department, the FBI, saw this stuff happening, that's when they decided this brother is getting dangerous.
Right. Exactly. Well, because
if he had just stuck within the United States, they probably would have been watching him very carefully. But I doubt if they would have had him assassinated.
Of course.
But when he started going international and being recognized and invited and speaking internationally, I think that's when they really got upset.
Right. Brother Mutar, did you care to comment or ask a question?
Yes. You know, the political philosophy of Malcolm was articulated very well in a book by Dr. Nye.
Go ahead, Mutar.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, brother. I was just saying that the political philosophy of Malcolm X was articulated very well and succinctly in a book by Dr. Naeem Cly. Dr. Naeem Cly, the book is called The Political Philosophy of Malcolm X. And in that book, it basically support and verify what you're saying right now for anyone who wants to, you know, go and fact check what you're saying. And and you're absolutely true about Malcolm's Pan-Africanist, Black nationalist, you know, human rights philosophy that took formation. He finally put all this stuff together after, you know, his trip to Mecca and when he became a Sunni Muslim, when he went over and met with the African leaders. One thing I did want to say about all the 7 African leaders that you mentioned that he met, there's one other leader that he's met that was more important than all of those, that really is exemplified. There's a picture of Malcolm X standing in northern Nigeria in the town of Sokoto. He had met with the Sarduna of the Sokoto Empire, which is the most powerful African Islamic leader in all of Africa. He has tens of millions of people. Over 100 million people are under his authority in Nigeria. You know, so Malcolm in that picture, they gave him a turban, and the turban came under his chin. And he's standing there with the representative of the Sarduna, and they giving him this Quran. They had appointed Malcolm as the leader of all the Muslims in the United States. And had he lived, Malcolm would have been the most powerful Muslim leader. He would have united all the Muslims in the United States under his authority with connection to the Muslims in Nigeria. But unfortunately, when he got back, he never had an opportunity to explain to people the title that he was given and the support that he had from the powerful Muslim organization in Nigeria. Ezekwe that he met, who was the president, he was he was a Christian, and Malcolm he met with him with the government, but like I say, he also went north and met. So that little tidbit there is not known by a lot of people, but we have a Jamaat in the United States called the Jamaat of Sheikh Uthman Dan Fodio that is connected to that same government, Islamic government, and they're also in Sudan. There's because when the British invaded Nigeria, they defeated the Sokoto Empire that was started by Sheikh Uthman Dan Fodio. They defeated them because they had superior weapons. They came with Gatling guns on the battlefield, and they killed in one day almost 10,000 Muslims in northern Nigeria. That battle broke the spirit of the people, and the British was able to just take over. But they were so powerful and they were so difficult, it was impossible for them to convert them to Islam because they, these people were like, they, even though they had defeated them, they let them keep their power structure. And then once Nigeria became independent again, they were able to reestablish themselves. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that Malcolm had a connection with them, and we have a group of brothers who are Muslims. We have a national organization that are connected with them also today. And there's a brother called Muhammad Sharif. He's one of the preeminent scholars on Islam in West Africa, and he's connected with the brothers also.
But that just goes to show what we're discussing is about the legacy of Malcolm X. Is basically what we're talking about, and he had become that powerful. And really, I mean, if we realize it, then the people who are the enemies of African people, they realize it. They probably realized it even before he even got back to America. And we know what happened subsequently with that. But brother, I wanted to ask you again about your book. Could you give me the title of your book again, please?
The title of the book is Brother Malcolm X's Strategic Pan-Africanism.
Okay.
And then it says, an important guide for people of African descent.
Okay. Yes, I mean, because I'm recommending that for my grandchildren.
I was listening. I could hardly understand what the brother was saying, because of sound.
Okay.
But I want to I agree. I want to make it clear that I agree with him. The brother, he didn't just, those leaders that I listed, he didn't just meet with them.
Okay.
He traveled around and met people, who were teachers and all kinds of, religious leaders and those kind of things when he was traveling on the continent. And even within the United States, as a member of the OAAU, we had African descendant people who came to our OAAU meetings and rallies and things like that, So that thing that connection that he was pushing for was slowly being realized.
Now, I saw the picture Malcolm took with Dr. King, but I wanted to know, was that just before Malcolm's assassination, or was that when Malcolm first came back in 1964? Do you remember?
It wasn't like just before.
Okay.
But it was I think it was sometime in I don't know whether it was the late spring or the early fall.
Okay, that's what I meant.
But
okay.
they didn't really have time to talk to each other. They only had a time to just kind of say hello and keep moving. But they were in contact with each other.
Good.
Because Brother Malcolm, with Dr. King, was one of the people to whom he had sent that letter. About the need for a national organization whose job it was to look out for the for people of African descent and Black folks in this country. So unfortunately, they never had. They were planning a meeting, but it never came about again. And I am convinced that relationship was very disturbing. The possibility of that relationship developing was very disturbing to the United States government.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, like we just already mentioned, and what you just confirmed, it's been a diplomatic disaster for Malcolm to go before United Nations and saying that they can't protect the people, the indigenous people, in this country, and default, not that they didn't want to do it, the default, which is different. It'd been a monumental embarrassment, and unfortunately, it didn't come about, and it still needs to come about. As far as that goes, I mean, it's something that is a goal. It still should happen because nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed is that we have more entertainment. I got Google Gobs, cable channels. You can watch cable TV till your eyes fall out. I mean, that's unfortunate.
That statement that Brother Malcolm made about if capitalistic Kennedy and communistic Khrushchev can get together, that statement is true today. You might, instead of those two names, just look at the two other names, but what he was saying there is as true today as it was 60 years ago.
Exactly.
We as a people have still not developed a sense of unity.
Yes, that's very unfortunate. I mean, and the people that seek to oppress us, I mean, white supremacy, keys on that. We separated, by being Black Greeks. We separated by North being in the North, and people in the South, and y'all country, the people in the North, y'all Yankees, y'all bougie. All that is ridiculous, and why we being oppressed by one people.
And brother, what I get criticized for now is I put some of the blame on us. I ain't blaming everybody else now.
Okay.
Some of the blame that we don't have a serious unity type organization that was being asked for by Brother Malcolm and Dr. King in the later years of his life also was advocating. The reason we don't have it is because of us. Surely there's somebody out there who's constantly trying to keep that from happening, but we could have a national organization if we would get together, and we just have refused to do so.
Yes, I mean that's unfortunate. I mean, no, you're right. I agree with you. So we have to take some responsibility in our situation. Even though there's a lot of tentacles pulling on us, but I agree with you as well.
That's right. I agree with you. I know there's a lot of hostility, all that kind of stuff you're talking about, but there's also a concrete direction for people that we claim that we respect, and yet we don't do the things that they were advocating.
That's unfortunate.
I mean, by the time he was assassinated, Dr. King was a strong supposed opponent. I mean, supporter of unity, as Brother Malcolm was.
Yes.
And yet the people those people who honor him on his birthday and all that kind of stuff, and the people, we still don't get together. We still do everything separately.
That is a problem.
And I tell people all the time, that's why I always like to make it very clear that brother, for people who were with him for religious reasons, Brother Malcolm had Muslim Mosque Incorporated.
Right.
The organization for American Unity, or for people who were with him, for other reasons, and we need to recognize that we're not. And then some people, again, some Christians that I know, they still talk as though if you're not a Christian, then you can't be saved.
That's unfortunate.
They still have that kind of attitude.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. That is unfortunate, and that's some of the things that we mentioned, and that keep us divided. And that's the thing about Dr. King and Haj Malik Shabazz is they had the charisma to like go get past that because the brother mentioned that yesterday at a forum I was at. Just is charismatic. I guess that's the word I'm saying. To get people, even though they might not agree with what he's, with his religion, but they could agree with the issue.
That's right.
You got to agree with the issue. And then when all said and done, we're gonna be blessed by what we do, not by what we say.
Look what our white supremacist enemies do. They fight each other. They call each other names. But if somebody moves on them, they become one.
That's right.
The white people in the United States of America, when they travel around in this country, I'm a New Yorker. Okay. I'm a Californian. I'm a Georgian. I'm an Alabamian. That kind of thing. But when they go abroad, I'm an American.
That's true.
That's true. What they do.
No, you're right.
And we can do the same. That's one of the about the only thing that we could copy from them.
No, I agree, and that's not done enough. I mean, it's unfortunate you hear people, our race, our people who actually said that they're not African. There's a producer. He said he wasn't. He's not African. He said he was born in Detroit.
But brother, with those kind of people, and this is my position. I'm 87 years old now. If I'm talking to somebody and they have that kind of attitude, I say, see you later.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
One thing that we kind of refuse to do, we need to organize the truth. If you believe in the absolute importance of Black unity, and if you believe in Pan-Africanism, we're going to have a meeting, and we're inviting you to come. If you don't believe in either one of those things, or if you're ambiguous about them, please don't come.
That's a good point.
We'll talk to you later.
That's a good point.
You got to get the true. You got to first organize the true believers. Now, does that mean that we're going to agree on every single word? No.
No.
But we agree on the necessity of Black unity and the necessity of Pan-Africanism. Exactly. So we get together. We'll discuss those things, and come up with something. But that's what we got to do it, man. But and some people tell me that I'm being an elitist when I say that. No. I say I don't. If you believe in those two things, the absolute importance of Black unity and the absolute importance of Pan-Africanism, if you believe in it, I don't care if you're a truck driver or a PhD or millionaire. If you believe in those things as a Black person, then please come to this meeting. If you don't believe in them, please stay home.
That's a good point.
Don't have to be convinced and persuaded. We'll talk to you later. You first organize the true believers, then you reach out. For people you have to convince. I tell people all the time. I remember going to meetings sometimes back in the 80s and 90s. Be 20 people there, and out of the 20, 5 may believe seriously in Pan-Africanism and unity.
Wow.
And 15 were kind of, you know what we would do? Spend all our time trying to change the mind of 15 instead of taking the 5 and going on and doing something.
That's right. That's right.
And we did that over and over and over again.
Now that's what you have to do it seriously.
We're still doing it today.
You can, like you said, you need people that are committed. We got a serious issue. I mean, you're not
writing people off. All you're doing is saying you organize those who truly believe. Once you get that organization structure, then you start programs to reach out to people who you got to convince.
Good point. That's a good point. I want to check our engineer producer. It's Brother Smith. If you have one of the speeches of Malcolm, we could play talking about the same points that Brother Bailey just mentioned. Is that possible now?
Brother, I'm going to have to. I think I told you that I could only do a certain amount of time.
Okay. Well, brother,
and,
first of all, I'll be remiss if I didn't really comment that I really truly appreciate your struggle, your commitment, and the work you did with Brother Malcolm. It's it's unparalleled. I mean, and that you still have the energy, whatnot, to do what you do, and I really, really appreciate your efforts. I hope we can get together again.
Okay, brother.
There's a commemoration coming up for Marcus Garvey in August, and perhaps we could do that then. But I want to thank you
Okay.
very, very, very much. I really appreciate your time, brother.
And thank you very, very much for helping to get concrete, solid information out to our people.
Thanks again, brother. Peace be with you.
Same for you. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Brother Smith, is it possible you could bring on one of those speeches of Malcolm? Yeah, the brother had to depart. He's got like a real busy schedule today. He's got goo guys and stuff to do, so he had to depart. But I want to continue our discussion beforehand. I want to get we have a clip of a speech by Malcolm, because he was talking about the Pan Africanism and our unity. And I think we got a speech. I was trying to get the engineer on, if he can hear me. I might have to. Yes, Brother Mutar. Thank you for coming on board. The brother Bailey had some other commitments, and I really appreciate what he did. He had to attend to his other commitments. A lot of other commemorations going on regarding Malcolm, and I appreciate your contribution, because actually I didn't know about the connection with the Jamal with Mandela Folio. I mean, I know about the Jamal, of course. I know you, but I didn't know about Malcolm's connection with it. And
Yes, Malcolm is
that's
one
beautiful.
of our leaders in that Jamaat. But I just to add on to what that brother was saying and what you all are trying to pull up. Malcolm, in his speech, the grass message to the grassroots, spoke on the issue of unity amongst African American people, and he talked about that's the speech where he said that uh, we don't catch hell in this country because you're a Baptist or Methodist, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, you're a Muslim, you're a Christian, or you're an atheist, no matter what you are, that's not what you're being oppressed for. You're being oppressed because you're black, you're different from everybody else in appearance. You can't assimilate and kind of disappear because you are diametrically different phenotypically from the European, whereas other immigrants, they can come here and they can be blacker than you and I, just because they may have straight hair, a long nose, and they live in the neighborhood and they don't identify as black and they don't associate with black people. They got a second class citizenship position amongst the status quo, amongst the European. They'll let them kind of be like their buffer between
Exactly.
us and them. So all of your people coming from South America,
Right.
Hispanics, Indians,
Indians. Yeah.
even Africans, they can look like you and I. They come from Nigeria, but or come
They
from Africa. They
they
can be
treated different.
recruited into that second class citizens, and they will actually speak out against the reparations. They'll speak out against black unity. They'll speak out against Pan-Africanism. They will speak out. So the psychological warfare is still going on, and we don't have a good defender, a master of dealing with psychological warfare like Malcolm was. Malcolm was able to debunk all that crap they tried to psychologically bamboozle us with, and that's why they couldn't deal with him. But one other thing that's very important, that I think in the uh, because Pan-Africanism is under attack today. You hear even African-American black guys like, man, them Africans don't want nothing to do with us. Pan-Africanism is dead and all this kind of stuff. Malcolm, that stuff he was talking about no longer relevant today, right? You got progressive black guys who claim to be progressive saying this. And I find that, to be very disturbing. But one thing I do think we need is we need a think tank that deals with these issues to give us some contrast, some critical analysis of Malcolm's positions, especially for example, what I'm talking about, Malcolm during his time had some belief or confidence that the United Nations would act on the oppression the United States is doing against black people, and the United Nations would pass human rights, legislation in favor of African Americans. But I think today we have no comfort. The United Nations is defunct. It's sitting back watching a genocide in Gaza, doing absolutely zero but talk. Why they don't send a peacekeeping force to Gaza? Let something like this happen in Africa or South America. Here come United Nations. Oh, we sending the tanks and stuff to go into an African country to do peacekeeping, but not with Israel. Why? Because the United States controls the United Nations. That's why China, Russia, India, the BRIC countries are forming another United Nations that includes countries that are like, hey, we are not going to be controlled in that United Nation by the United States. And if you notice, United States is not in BRICS.
Of course not.
Of course not. So my point being made, the United Nations that Malcolm was looking at, we got to sit down and talk about critically, is that still an option for us to present something to this United Nations when the American United Nations ambassador, the woman, got up and voted against a ceasefire in Gaza for the United States. She voted against a ceasefire to stop genocide. Basically, she was saying, no, we're not stopping this genocide. The United States love this genocide. We're going to wipe out all these, we're going to let Israel get rid of all those Palestinians. And now, at the United Nations, with the veto of the United States, you go to the United Nations with a charter for human rights for African Americans in the United States. What do you think the United States is going to do?
Of course, they veto that.
They'll veto that.
But the part you mentioned about the think tank, that's viable, and I think there's enough progressive people, in my opinion, to come together and this think tank rather, just to give an analysis of certain positions that we need to take, and then we could broadcast it. We do have we could do podcasts. We got people who are on the so-called major networks, and that's how you get this started. Because as you mentioned, the battles for here, you gotta get the minds of our people, especially our young people. And that like this podcast we doing today, trying to get it over to my grandchildren, because to think about what's going on. We talking Malcolm X died 1965. That's like 60 years ago. 60 years ago, and we have the same exact issues. Going on. You're still being murdered in the streets, still be, police brutality, still disunity, still economically deprived. We have more money to spend. We have more money to spend than any African country on the planet, but we don't even spend it to our own. We don't spend it to ourselves. We shouldn't even be buying. It's a crazy thing to say. We shouldn't even be buying goods in America unless they come from Africa. Clothing, entertainment, your books, certain things we should be importing those. We should import because other people do that. I mean, Italian people, they wearing Italian clothes. I mean, especially Latino people, they not going just to buy something, the Levi's. They're getting their clothes from Latin countries, and that's one thing that could at least stop that and bridge us and make us be a little bit more economically feasible. But we had the capability to have to think that there's enough progressive people. You're gonna have to reach out to them, and how we need to do it is not only position paper, but like a town hall meeting. We got the technology. We can go to Atlanta. We're here in Houston. We can go to New York. We can go to Chicago. We can go to Miami, and do these analysis. Because the problem is to wake the people up. First and foremost, have to wake the people up. Our solution is not going to be solved by being Democrat. Our solutions is our problem is not going to be solved by being Republican. Our solution we're going to have to solve it and break away from that and use that the way they use us. We don't need no be Democratic or Republican to have political representation, but we're going to have to move toward that. The brother's about to sign off. Brother Muta, I really appreciate it, brother. You always give excellent, lively analysis. I appreciate what you said about the relationship of Malcolm to the Jamaat, to the Muslim Jamaat, and that
Yeah.
was important. And once again, I want to thank you again. And I think we're gonna have something in August, inshallah, on Garvey and Unity, and then we're gonna either have you back before that, but at least in August, be prepared to about the middle of August, around Garvey's birthday. That's usually called uh, Garvey Unity Day or National Unity Day in August. So
Okay.
I know you in the school system, but we're gonna take time probably to do it on the weekend and do that and keep this going. But thank you for your time, brother. I really appreciate it.
All right. We still have on Sunday at River Oaks Islamic Center.
Okay.
We're gonna have a panel discussions. We're gonna have Imam Darnell is gonna be there again.
Okay.
And Imam Wazir here in Houston will be at ISGH Main Center on Kirby. So inshallah, I'll be there also on that panel on Sunday
Okay.
evening. So
All right.
you want to
Thank
stop
you.
through this? I'll make sure they give time for you to ask your question. And
Hey, brother. I
all right,
wasn't able to wait. I had to deal with nature. I wasn't able to wait. I had to go do what I had to do. But thank you
all
again,
right,
brother. All right.
all right, bro.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.